Hello and welcome to Off the Brawl and Off the Ball. I'm Ronan Mullen, joined as ever by Andy Lee. Andy, how are things?
Good, Ronan. Very good.
Phil's on holidays this week, so we drafted in the best guy to talk about all the heavyweight landscape, our number one guy in the division. Niall Kennedy, thanks for coming in.
Thanks a million for asking me this.
How's life?
Good, all good at the moment, thank God.
Yeah, and your next fight is set, we'll have to get into that as well.
August 17th is coming around soon, so 4 weeks I think from this week, so please God.
Yeah, and Andy, you and Niall did a very good piece last year. It would have been one of the first pieces you probably did with Off the Ball, was it?
Yeah, it was my first, I think it was one of my first video interviews.
He was kind to me.
Went down to Gory, and no, it was very good. It was good. Niall's got a great story. Back then he'd just come off winning a fight while his wife had gone into labour with his son. She came in prematurely and he went through with the fight and won the fight, and the baby was born all healthy and he came back with the belt, the New England title.
Yeah.
So that was a great story.
Remember your wife saying she was watching Coronation Street on one phone and you're fighting the other phone?
It's mad, yeah. But she's doing a white collar fight at the moment.
Is
so
she, yeah?
She's gone boxing mad at the minute, yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy, and when the little lad's at home, he's walking and on there. We have a little punch bag for him, but I said to him, go on, punch the bag, 1, 2. And he's punching the bag and he's saying, Mammy, instead of Daddy. So that's what he's saying.
How is he now? How is he keeping?
He's flying, yeah. He's thriving. Everything is going well, thank God. He's 2 now on the 8th of August. So
yeah.
Flying.
Great stuff. It's a brilliant story. I'll put the link in the description for anyone who wants to check out that video. But just on the fight, Niall, just over 3 weeks to go, back in Massachusetts again.
Yeah, Springfield. I've never boxed there, actually. I think it's about 2 hours from Boston, but back in that state, which has been so good to me so far. So it's not a defence of either of the state championships. It hasn't been announced what belt it's for, but it's believed to be for an international title with one of the ranking bodies. So it's
Give us the scoop.
I've been told the IBF international, but that hasn't been confirmed, and as you know, things change and stuff like that. So I know I was ranked highest with the IBF in America at that stage, so I hope it is, and I hope it does get sanctioned, please God. So
Vargas is the opponent.
Andy probably knows a little bit more about him than I do, but he was a hot prospect enough after the Olympics. He went to the Olympics same year, didn't he?
04, yeah. And he was from Cleveland. He's from Cleveland, Ohio, which is not far from Detroit. So he'd be in the gym often. He would have spotted Jonathan Banks quite a bit during my time. I don't think he was ever in the Klitschko camps, but he was always floating around. Whenever there'd be heavyweight cruiserweights in the gym, he'd come down and spar them. At one stage, he was a hot prospect, yeah. But I'm not sure if he really had the dedication to match his talent. And so subsequently his career has kind of drifted a bit. But obviously you'll be a big scout for him. He's a big scout for you. So you have to be on your game because...
And I'm preparing for him at the best I can see. There's very little footage of him, so I'm looking at the best footage I can see and preparing for that. And like what Andy says, it's his opportunity to get back in the mix as well. So we're taking him very serious. He's boxed top names, like he's boxed Dominic Brazil, he's boxed Andrew Ruiz as his last fight, like, so he's been in with the top tier of boxing. So I need to show my level. If I belong at that level, I need to show that level now. So.
And you mentioned it, the support you've got over in that neck of the woods, because I remember when you fought at the TD Garden and you were early enough in the card, but there was a huge crowd there to support you. It must be cool to have that sort of support on the East Coast.
It's deadly. 30 people from our home came over for that fight as well, yeah, so it was good. A lot of people from Gory Boxing Club and Gory and Wicklow as well, but in Boston it's gone mad. I've a family, the Johnsons, that they're related to an uncle of mine, but they've taken me under their wing and they're bringing 30 and 40 people to each fight. Like, it's unreal. It's mad.
Yeah. And this fight's going to be on UFC Fight Pass. That's kind of the relationship Murphy's Boxing have with the UFC, is it?
Yeah, Dana White, isn't he? He's mad into boxing, I think, and he's trying to branch into it in some way himself. But Ken Casey, who's the head man of Murphy's Boxing, and him are friends, so I think that's how it got linked. But I only found out this week that it's live on UFC Fight Pass, which is great. I think to do a 6-day free trial in Ireland if anyone wants to download it for the fights.
It's a great time to be in the heavyweight division, Andy, isn't it?
Well, it's obviously we're coming off the back of a big heavyweight fight this weekend with Dillian Whyte. But just to go back, you mentioned Andy Ruiz having sparred Joshua. You went over and sparred Joshua. Did you predict that kind of outcome for the fight? What was your thoughts of the fight before it was made, and what are your thoughts since?
I thought Andy would have got through it, but I definitely thought Andy Ruiz was wrong for him. Like, he's an explosive, fast, small man, and Anthony is a big, tall, strong, methodical big man, like, you know. And I thought the mix didn't work, like, and it proved to be that way. I didn't think that Anthony Joshua would get bet by Andy Ruiz, but turned out that he did. And I think the rematch is a really tough fight, but I'm hoping. I don't know Andy Ruiz, and he comes across as a lovely fella, in fairness to him, but I do know Anthony, and he is a gentleman. And I suppose for this side of the water, it's great if he does regain the belt, and it sort of makes the division exciting again. Then, well, it couldn't be any more exciting at the moment. So, but yeah, I'm sort of dodging that question, really.
What about that kind of company? How far away do you think you are from breaking into those guys, breaking in with those, you know? This
fight tells a story now, and we spoke a minute ago about this man, but if I'm to show that I'm at a level that I deserve to be mixing with these people, I don't want to be a sparring partner. I don't want to be brought over for sparring. Like, I want to make MJ and Eve secure a home. I'd love to make a few pounds out of it. I'm 35 now, and I'd like to finish out on a high, you know, that way, so to see how far I can go.
And there's depth there, Andy. We spoke about it last week, some of the names that are rising as well, like Dubois and even Joe Joyce. Like, so there's plenty of big names there for Niall to get involved with.
Hughie Fury as well.
Yeah.
So there's plenty there. And even at a certain level, David Price is right back in the mix, you know, in a way, you know. Yeah. But, like, you look how quickly Dave Allen rose through the ranks. And no disrespect to him, but in terms of boxing skill, you'd be right head and shoulders above him, you know, in terms of boxing and education and your amateur career and all of that. So it shows you how quickly you can progress if you're moved right, you know.
And he's good. He was good. He done very well. He self-promoted himself very well, and I'm probably poor at that, but he got himself out there. He had a nice story, and he sold it, and people bought into it. And his guts got him to where he was, but his guts were his detriment last week, you know. Like, he didn't.
I see that even like, and again, a lower level, like Lucas Brown is fighting Tom Little. A winner there would be a good scalp as well for you, wouldn't it? Because even though you're better than those guys, they still have names in England that could move you up, you know.
The whole thing is, though, England it's massive at the moment with Dubois, Joyce, Gorman, even Nathan Gorman, I believe, will come back. I think there was probably something going on outside. I think he'd only had a child or something as well, and it definitely wasn't a true reflection of Nathan Gorman, I don't believe. But Daniel Dubois looks the real deal too, like, so. But they're all massive fights, but I'm based in America, so even though I'm from here, it would be easier for me to box there. I'm based out of America, so there is that awkward sense to it as well, but obviously anything can happen and everything can happen. So.
Yeah. And we mentioned Dave Allen there, and he was on a huge show there at the weekend, headlined by Dillian Whyte, who after 600 days plus as number one with WBC, finally the mandatory challenger after a great fight and a great win over Rivas. What do you think of it, Andy?
I thought he fought a great fight, and he proved he's ranking, you know, he's proved that he's world class. Every round was hard, but every round he was slightly the better man. And I was actually going to turn it off. I think one that he got dropped, like around 10 or around 9, just before he got dropped, I was thinking, like, this is done. I'm going to go to bed.
Round 8 was his best round, and then round 9 he got dropped.
And then he got dropped. And then, okay, I'm going to stay and see how this plays out. But, look, to do that with a guy like Rivas, with everything on the line, you mentioned 600 days as number one contender. But he was offered title shots, you know, they just weren't under the right conditions for him. Especially so if he had lost this fight, you know, if he had lost that fight, he would have looked so stupid. He would have looked, it would have looked like the worst move possible, not accepting those fights when he had chances to fight Joshua, whatever it was, the money wasn't right, whatever reason. And now he got beat by Rivas, who nobody knew. You know, nobody really knew. But to go in there and do that to Rivas, who you can see is clearly an accomplished fighter. I thought Paulie Malignaggi called the fight perfectly. I really enjoyed the commentary and how Rivas was loaded up at one punch all the time, heavy shots, and he became predictable and kind of, you know, easy to see, easy to read. And I thought Dillian Whyte jab was very good. His upper body movement was good, and his body shots, you know, were the difference. And he has that kind of fight in him as well. That I like to see. That when he did take a couple of shots, he just dug down, you know, set down, got low, and swung his punches. So I don't know what, like, I don't think he could have done much more. You know, I think it was
No, I feel that his boxing IQ has definitely improved. He boxed Rivas the weekend and bet him at boxing, you know, and Rivas was an accomplished amateur as well. Bet Andy Ruiz in the amateurs and was an Olympian, wasn't he? And
excellent jab.
Yeah.
Whyte, yeah, from like
double jab as well.
Yeah, but you don't see a lot. Like it's a Larry Holmes jab. You know, it's long, it's loose, but it's also snappy as well. It's not a big stiff ramrod.
Throws it from high, throws it low as well, off his hip a lot of times as well.
Excellent jab.
And the way he goes to the body off the jab as well. Like he's a skill set you don't really see in the heavyweight division.
No, not as a heavyweight. So. It's time now. It's time for him to get the shot. How long have we been saying that? Every time he beats somebody, we're saying the same thing.
This time last year, he beat Joseph Parker in another good fight.
It's crazy.
Like, it's going to be this time next year when he gets the fight, because both Wilder and Fury have fights in the interim.
The way it is, you can see Joseph Parker getting the shot at the title before he does.
But he's going to keep improving, Whyte. So he's bet on himself to this point.
It's another hard 12 rounds on the body. Yeah. I don't know. You know, look, he was dropped late there. He was hurt.
I don't know if it was a concussive dropping though.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, it was. But he was hurt late against Parker, and that was concussive.
Yeah, that was.
And it's he needs that title shot. It has to come sooner rather than later, because he can't keep rolling dice. And there's been hinting that they'll take an easy fight. David Price been mentioned.
I think David Price is the perfect fight. We'll get on to Price.
It could be if David Price comes in confident and full of belief.
Yeah, absolutely.
He could be the biggest banana skin.
If Dillian Whyte wants to stay as a pay-per-view fighter, he can't fight just a tomato can in his next fight. So Price, having fought on that card, is a marketable guy for Sky, and off a good win against Dave Allen. So, like, I think it's a perfect fight. And if Price beats Whyte, fair play to him, he gets the shot, and that would be a great story in itself.
Didn't Dillian Whyte go the distance with Dave Allen?
Yeah, but he took him the distance.
Yeah. But there's a bit of a story.
He held his hand going there.
David Price stopped him. So
that's true.
There's a bit of a story there.
Yeah.
What are you saying is a stretch?
Yeah. I think looking at David Price that weekend, I know we're on about Dillian Whyte at the minute, but the fear behind Dillian Whyte is a massive puncher. David Allen is not a good puncher, but it's his will to win that has got him into the position. And David Price boxed very well, very clever, really smart boxing, but still looks gun shy when that shot's coming. And I just think Dillian Whyte frightens the life of him, to be honest with you.
And the pacing of the shots you mentioned, Andy, and Malignaggi said it on commentary, it's interesting. I think you've spoken before about sort of Stewart teaching you to dress up the knockout shot, so like you're almost pawing with your initial shots and then coming with a big shot, whereas Rivas' jab was the same strength as his power shots.
And it takes your energy. You can only maintain that for, you can't even do 50% of the round, maybe a minute of the round, and the rest of the time you kind of recover, like trying to avoid punches and recharge his strength.
His muscle mass as well, which will tire quicker. He's a very well built man.
But he's a good fighter. Like, he is a good fighter. You have to give it to him.
Very good.
On paper, if you were to look at the both of them, Joshua and Ruiz and Dillian Whyte, Rivas was a far tougher fight pre-Ruiz doing what he done to Joshua. Like, you know, if you saw what he done to Brian Jennings, and Brian Jennings is a
and look what Jennings did to Joyce.
No, and your point about him not taking the Joshua fight, and then he had to sit at home like everyone else and watch Ruiz do the job with a left hook, which is, he's probably the best left hooker in the division, Whyte. So it's
and he didn't land that same punch on Joshua. You know, it's the one punch that he hurt him with.
Yeah, and he didn't land it that clean the other night, but actually by missing it, you saw how much of his body he gets into it, because he was missing.
Showing his back. He was like doing a full
throws everything into it.
Yeah. The psychology of it as well is something Paulie mentioned, that Rivas, even though he was losing most of the rounds, was still in to win, whereas you see in other fights where if you lose the first half of the fight, you're almost in there just to see out the distance, whereas Rivas still... How difficult is that when you feel like you're behind on the cards, but you're just...
I think it's when you're a puncher and you haven't lost a fight, which he hadn't, I think you always think you had a chance. And obviously, he was a different fighter after he dropped Whyte. You know, and like you said, it wasn't like he set it up. It wasn't like a punch that he set up and that it was a concussive punch. It was kind of like a coffin shot that got him, you know, that put him down. And then he did build on that. You know, he got confident. But
seeing his corner though, his corner were freaking out at him. So I don't think
they were giving him heavy pressure, weren't they, in the corner?
I don't think it was going the way they wanted or had planned it to go. You know, I think
they did have a good jab. Both of them were exchanging jabs. Dillian Whyte was just slightly better.
No, it was
longer as well, a little bit longer.
It was really high level. Like you could see the difference between that fight and the fights that went before previous, straight away. The maturity we mentioned of Whyte, like there was two pretty clear instances of it when he hurt Rivas in the second round, and then he jumped in initially and then sort of stepped back because he remembered. He probably thought what happened to Joshua in the same situation, and then when he got knocked out himself, he just kind of didn't lose his cool. He didn't like.
I think if you cornered Mark Tibbs or got a good voice of Mark Tibbs, if you see Mark Tibbs just as he hurts Rivas, Mark Tibbs freaks out, telling him get back, because I think his instinct, obviously all our instincts is to jump, but his is definitely to jump. And Mark Tibbs sort of was telling him, look, come back, this isn't over, like, you know, that was so. Mark Tibbs played a big part in that as well.
And Mark Tibbs, as a young man, like he's a young coach, but you have to signal him out with the job he's done with Dillian Whyte. You know, before that, Billy Joe Saunders. You know, he's a good coach, and he's obviously the dad is Jimmy, who's the world of experience, trained everybody. So
characters, nice people, actually.
Yeah.
So it was a big call from Whyte when he left Jonathan Banks to join up with Tibbs, but like in the sense that he wasn't going to Tibbs Senior, he was putting all his trust in Mark, and
Mark wouldn't have been you know, now he's got a name for himself, I think, but to that point he wouldn't have been, and there would have been other guys that Whyte could have went with, but other names, you know, but it shows you that it's a relationship, you know what I mean? It's not the name. Like, I don't know, we'll talk about going to a name, like, you know, we'll look at Quigley with Ingle, and we're just to jump onto that, if it, like, I can't believe that Quigley wasn't prepared for that type of fight with Johnson. What did they expect? You know what I mean? What did they expect? You got a short guy who's an aggressive fighter, fast and strong.
If you rewind it to the Eamon O'Kane fight, it's the very same performance from Johnson.
Like, I don't know, did they not do their homework? And we bought into it as well. We kind of overlooked him as well, but Jason should have had the tools and the skills to beat that guy. You know, in terms of, we talked about it, from being a boxer, you have to have that kind of calm, that kind of demeanour, that when you're in close, when someone's up close with you, don't panic. And when you're in there, you know what to do. You tie him up, or you punch with him, or you hit him with something so he respects you, so that he can't walk into range at will. And I think it was. I don't know if that wasn't the only thing. Like, I don't know if I don't want to slate Jason. He's down. This is not slating Jason.
Yeah. I want any.
No, this is not.
He's a friend of mine.
I'm not. Jason's a friend of mine too. It's not about him, but I question, like,
the mix. I don't think the fit there is
putting him in there with that guy without being prepared for it and mentally being prepared for it, and also condition-wise, like, he looked tired after 2 rounds. To me, I don't know, like, and like, I've sent Jason a message, and I've been supportive, and I've told him, like, the same thing happened to me against Vera, my 15th fight. It's the exact same fight for him. You know what I mean? That this can happen, and it's how you come back from it, and that I'm hit. You know what I mean? That I will help him in any way I can. But it's just that's a hard lesson to learn, and such a hard way to learn it. And that's what happened to me. My first headline fight on national TV against the guy I was supposed to beat. The difference with being Vera, I had Vera down. I was beating him, and I punched myself out, and then he came on strong, and he broke my will, and then I got stopped in a trade-off where he was hitting me. And it's the same with Jason, and it's the hardest lesson to learn because you're on national TV, and it's a bit like, this is such an important time in his career that a loss hurts him so much. Just like, and now he it's not the end of the world. He will come back, and he can come back, but now he's going to have to do it the hard way, and it's going to be test of his character, because he won't be getting the calls, he won't be getting the opportunities. He's going to have to build himself up again, you know. And
you have to put himself back into the position that he's lost now, really. And
yeah, and it's much harder to regain it, you know, after that. And I don't know, the people won't, like his promoters, they won't be as infused by him, you know, that they won't.
There's a lot of confusion over his managed in California, and
like I know Mac can come out strongly against him, and I thought the time was.
I think it was more about his management.
Yeah, and it wasn't Jason. I would like. I think everything Macklin said was on point. That, you know, we've kind of said the same thing here. That he's an Irish fighter fighting on the West Coast, managed in the West Coast, never fought. You know, even spoke about his nickname being El Animal when he should be the Donegal Kid or something. You know, so you know, just to promote him, but. I don't disagree, but I just think the time's wrong. And look, and I don't want to jump on that bandwagon. I'm not slating Jason. I think Jason is... nothing changes. That's what I said to him in a message to him, that this doesn't change anything. You're still a world-class fighter. You just have to come back, and you're going to have to come back. The only way to regain... Like, when you lose a fight like that, and I know more than anybody, if all you're filled with is doubts, you don't know... You question everything. About how you trained, you kind of go through your preparation forensically, think about, was this wrong, was that wrong, what, you know, could I have done this different, oh, I shouldn't have drank that, even, you know, I should have got more sleep, I should have told that person, look, I'm not taking the call, I'm not doing this interview. And it just wrecks your head, and you can't sleep, and you can't, like, every moment of every day, you're just thinking about that, what I wish I could turn back time, you know what I mean? And you're just in a negative place mentally.
And for so, like...
But there is light, there is a way back. And the thing is, you have to put it into perspective and put it into context. And that's what I didn't have when I lost that fight, when I was like in Sphere, in my 15th fight. I was this prospect, I was on ESPN, this was my biggest fight on ESPN, I was supposed to be on HBO the next month. And then I lost, and like, there was nobody there, even Emmanuel, because Emmanuel was too close to it. He was as hurt as I was. There was no one there to come and say, Andy, this is one fight. Get back in the gym. Don't let this dent your confidence. This doesn't change anything that you've done before this. Like Jason Quigley, European champion, world silver medalist, unbeaten up to this point. Was like on his day would beat Torino Johnson.
Yeah.
And so just hold that in the forefront of your mind, and start training again, and get and. If you did cut corners, if there was anything, train harder. And even if you didn't, do what you did and just do more of it. Do it harder. And that's the only way he's back. It's the only way he's going to get back his confidence, is getting in there and fighting again. You know, I'd lost that fight to Vera. That was in February. I fought Willie Gibbs, a better fighter than Vera. I beat him in my next fight in the June. But it didn't do nothing. It took me 4 or 5 fights at least before I started to get back that confidence. The thinking I was untouchable again, and it wasn't really until I fought Vera again that it was buried, you know, because I'd always had it hanging over me. So like there is this is not the end of the world for Jason Quigley by no means at all. He's a young fighter, relatively young fighter with not a lot of miles on the clock.
Fresh, yeah.
Yeah, and he's still a prospect, and there's still be an appetite for him. And always the comeback is better than, it's better to have the
setbacks, to effort comebacks.
Yeah, exactly.
It seems like an empty thing for me to say that you learn more in defeat than you do in victory.
You do.
No, of course.
This happen.
You'd rather never learn it.
Yeah.
When the psychological side of it will take a while for him to overcome naturally enough, but technically when it all dies down a little bit and he looks back at his performance, are there any things he should hone in on for his next fight, do you think?
He was pulling out high against a short fighter. It's sometimes you can get away with it, but Johnson was stepping to him. If a fighter's not stepping to you, you can punch 1, 2, whatever it may be, and pull out high if they're shorter than you. But when someone's coming into range and you're pulling out high, they're always looking to get the last punch in, and he was getting caught pulling out high. Take his head out low after his punches, and when he does get up close, be calm.
Yeah,
that's what be calm. Time up and walking forward. He did it at times, but he couldn't.
When it got very close, he didn't get shots off, and that was the other side where Johnson had suited Johnson very, very closely.
And he's got it just seemed like he was up boxing up here, and Johnson was boxing down here. And when you're lower in an exchange, you always got the advantage. So it was hard. It was a hard night for Jason, and a tough lesson to learn. And it had to learn it in the hardest way. Same way I had to learn it. But he will be back, and he will be better. There's no doubt about it. Because as I said, you analyze everything. And I've seen that thing. I've seen that thing a million times. It happened to me, and since then I've seen it a million times where where you're a young fighter and you get brought along and you're beating everyone, and then you put in a test, and it's not going the way you want it to go. You win a few rounds, but then all of a sudden this guy's still here and he's still coming on and he's still throwing punches. Next thing you're just trying to get the grips with it, and all of a sudden you're getting hurt, and then it's the test, and I've seen it. Juan Diaz versus Juan Manuel Marquez. Diaz was the young kid at the time, favourite, and he put it on Marquez. He put it on, but Marquez was just experienced in the season, just kept stuck to his guns, kept circling, throwing comments, circling the ring, and once he survived the first 6 rounds, he broke Diaz down. And I've seen it. You'll see it time and again. And we've said it here. There's a lot to be said for matchmaking, and it's the lost art in boxing. That. You got to know what your fighter's capable of, and look. I still think Jason's a better fighter than Torino Johnson. It's just that the styles of the matches and the timing just worked in Johnson's favour.
It reminded me of David Haye, Carl Thompson, where the young guy against the veteran who just knew where to be at the right times and waited for Quigley to get tired. Johnson did, and he just took over from round 3 basically. So it's interesting. There's 2 schools of thought whether you should just park that, leave it to one side like Hay did, and just leave Johnson to one side and move on, or go back and try and avenge that defeat. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Whether
I would get it back. I would get the revenge back, but in 3 fights, 4 fights.
I wouldn't be doing it straight away. Anyway.
Luke Campbell, when he lost to Mendy a couple of years ago, he waited almost 3 years to take the rematch and beat him conclusively the second time. So
Johnson, off the back of that, would probably push for a fight with somebody meaningful, and
because he has an established
and
name,
let him go do that, and then once he's had those extra miles, he's a bit older, he come back and Jason will be stronger, a bit older, a bit more mature himself. Because even though Jason, what is he? Is he 27?
27.
Yeah, physically, he's not. It doesn't seem like he has that. He's not matured yet. He doesn't seem like have that manliness about him yet, which will happen in late. As a middleweight, he's probably coming into that now. 28, 29. Even 29, 30 as a middleweight, I think are probably his strongest years, So get him back in a year or two, and I think even for Jason himself, he'd want the rematch.
To avenge it.
And while we're on the Irish boxing scene, a win for your stablemate last weekend as well, Niall.
Yeah, Craig O'Brien, he's flying. The Iron, city centre man here, but yeah, he's flying. He boxed very well. Pascal was delighted with him. I was talking to Pascal about it yesterday, and he done everything. Now I went to points as well, but your man was just a negative Eastern European brought over him, but he boxed very well. Pascal was delighted with it. So.
I saw him this time last year. I saw him in London against Anthony Fowler, and he moved up to take that fight at short notice. And even though he lost, he gave a really good account of himself.
He did, yeah.
In the last 12 months, he's kicked on.
And that Anthony Fowler was a really good amateur, but that was a fight that Craig thought, I can beat this fella, and he really wanted it. So when Pascal said, when someone wants it that much, you give it to him, let him have it if they want. And he didn't. He probably made his profile. He definitely raised his profile from it, but he performed well until the knockout. All right.
Yeah, no, it was a good performance. And before we leave that London show from earlier, we should just we mentioned Price against Allen, but just the last word on that. Good corner work from Darren Barker to pull Dave Allen out at the end.
Yeah. See,
he asked to be pulled out, didn't he?
Yeah, he's admitted that, and it's just another interesting point about he took out a stick from it because he said some comments about Joshua, that Joshua quit, and then next thing he quits, and he took some stick from it. But I don't know if it's a good, the way we're fighters, we want to go out on our shield. I think it actually was probably one of the smartest things he's ever done in the ring, Dave Allen.
Yeah, it's the cleverest thing I've seen.
Because there was a fight. Dadashev was taken to hospitals in an induced coma at the weekend.
Buddy McGirt.
Yeah, he was pulled out, but he wanted to fight on.
Buddy McGirt was in the corner.
Yeah,
and Buddy McGirt pulled him out eventually, but swelling and bleeding on the brain, and they removed some of the skull and that. So you can trust that nobody is patting that kid on the back because he's in the hospital, he's in coma, and he went out fighting.
He went out on your shield, yeah.
So why would you give Dave Allen stick for saying, look, I can't see out of one eye, I don't feel the best in this. I'm in with a big man who can really punch, and he's grown in confidence with every second of every round. David Price was, and I felt like it's a good call. It was a really good call, and it should be. I don't know. I think because we all have this kind of, predetermined kind of. We go out and us do it. It's kind of like the unwritten rule that no, you don't pull yourself out. That's a coward's way of doing things. And look, you'll fight and you go out there and no one will stop me. No one, the referee and the corner won't stop me, but the referee, whatever. You know what I mean?
Dave Allen has
and it's been said so many times, but then I don't know. Just is it? We have to kind of change the thinking that, and as well as from the corners, have to be a lot more aware, vigilant, because of fighters are becoming stronger, faster, more powerful, and the human brain hasn't changed since 200,000 years. Since we were.
Strange fight though, because I think Dave Allen had his plan. His plan was literally to be in Price's face for the first 6 rounds, thinking that Price would die a death as he usually does, like not being smart, but it didn't happen because Dave Allen didn't answer anything. Do you know what I mean? He never.
It's hard when you get jabbed.
Yeah, but he never tried to counter the jab. He tried to take it. Do you know, he was soaking it as opposed to countering anything. And I'm talking like someone that wouldn't mind to fight Prices. Is that what I'm talking about? I don't think he countered anything. And I think after the 6th round, when the 7th and the 8th were the same, I'd say Darren Barker, and you know Darren very well, I'd say Darren probably said to him, this needs to change, like, you know. And then maybe he just said to himself in the night, like, I can't. And thank God he did, because I think he ended up in hospital as well, but everything is good, I believe. Yeah. So.
I think he's a fractured orbital bone, but he scans on his brain, is fine. So
he took an awful beating off Tony Yoka.
Yeah, like that was, I was just going to say, like, all this talk of quitting, like he's notoriously the opposite.
Yeah,
like
he's
against
too brave. Nearly
Luis Ortiz, he jumped in for a couple of grand and took a shellacking off him as well.
I was shape and took it and done it, and so like what you said, Dillian Whyte carried him to the end nearly, but he's took, like, you can't question the man's bravery. Like he's a brave man.
Yeah, and just we should let Davy Price revel in his win. Like you saw by his reaction after the referee waved it off, he was quite delighted to get the win, and he's finally delivered in one sense on a high profile win on a big stage. You know, it's a nice redemption for him.
Yeah, he's due it, isn't he? He's like, he deserves it, if anything. But he deserves it because he boxed well, and that's what he's capable of.
He's a boxer, yeah.
Yeah, he boxed very well, and he nullified Allen when he was up close.
It's a huge man that used his assets properly for the first time in a long time, I think. So it's just big, rangy.
It'll be interesting. Like, could he do it now with somebody who's a bit more, like, could he do it with someone who's a bit more faster, a bit more stronger, a bit more savvy? Probably not, but to get a good win over Dave Allen, which is probably right, because you look at the years as an amateur, Olympic bronze medalist, all the fights he's had, he probably, for me it would have been very sad to see somebody like David Price, and that's probably a bit wrong to say, but get to lose to David Allen because of the levels and the skills and the years they put in.
The bookies had Dave Allen 2-6, I think. It's very short.
And in the other heavyweight fight, Chisora Spilka was a marginal favourite in that one, and Chisora proved everyone wrong there as well. He not a typical Chisora performance. It wasn't a brawl or anything like that. He just went in and did the job. Still impressive.
Still a life in him.
I don't know how Spilka was favoured for that fight. No way in the world. I think Derry Chisora, like, he's rejuvenating himself nearly. Like, he boxed unbelievably well against Takam. The first fight against Dillian Whyte, I thought he won.
Yeah.
The second fight, he was winning until he got sparked. And then
probably his last performance against Gashi.
Gashi was poor, yeah.
Everyone probably thought he'd shot his last
maybe
against Dillian Whyte.
But then like that, then again,
he just rises to the occasion.
Man Spilka had one good performance, which was against Wilder, and that's about 4 years ago now, isn't it?
In which he still ended up.
Yeah. And he ended up getting knocked out. Yeah. And I think a lot of that is down to the fact that Wilder is just this brute, strong, massive, powerful, quick man, but not the most amazing boxing IQ. And Spilka was a southpaw, and it was completely wrong for Wilder. And I think it just took a lot longer for Wilder to say, right, now here I'm going to nail him with this. And when he nailed him to the cross.
It's quite dangerous. It was quite scary, wasn't it? Yeah.
But, like, Spilka has had a couple of devastating knockouts. Like, we talk about, like, he want to be looking at himself. He's after getting hurt a lot now. Like, and that was another big one the weekend as well.
He's still only 30 as well, so he should probably have a good hard look at things, as you said. And it looks like Joseph Parker against Derek Chisora next, which is a good matchup by all accounts, I think. Yeah,
it's an interesting one. It'll probably be in America. It's a good matchup for Parker, I think. As much as I like Chisora, I think Parker's a good boxer, good mobile boxer, and big enough as well to hold Chisora off. How do you see that, Niall? Do you disagree? Do you agree or disagree? What do you think?
I'm a Chisora fan, clearly, and I said it, but you're right in what you say. Joe Parker can be a very good boxer and can be clever and fast and quick, and he is a powerful man as well. We've seen what he done to Dillian Whyte, but sometimes he doesn't start till very late in a fight, and he's slow. And Derek Chisora hits that hard. That
he wasn't like, even though he beat that Alex Lepay last time, I didn't think it was that impressive.
No, I think it was awkward though. I think there was a friendship there. I think that fight wasn't. I think they're both Samoan heritage or something like that.
The thing is with Parker, like, he's built up that big name in New Zealand and kind of got the title over there, had a great following, but, like, has he really proven his worth in big fights yet? He's lost to Joshua, he's lost to Dillian Whyte,
lost to
Ruiz, which was a tight fight. He beat Ruiz, but it was tight. It was tight. Well. Huey Fury was close. Yeah, like, you could have argued for Fury, just that he was just so negative, but you could have saw a way that Huey Fury won the fight.
If that was in England, it could have been a very different score.
Yeah. So, like, he's got some proving to do. Even though he has this kind of big name, he still has to prove. Like, you know,
Chisora will be an unbelievable name on his record.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I think it's, I would fancy Parker in it, even though
just that he's a bit fresher.
Yeah.
It looks like Joshua Ruiz, although it might change by the time we put this out, that it's going to be in Cardiff, and they're looking at that fight as a chief support, which would make it a really good bill, and I think everyone would be on board with that. And obviously Dillian Whyte will be in the mix around that time of year. He'll get one more fight maybe December, January, and then he's all set for the winner of Wilder Fury, hopefully.
Chisora is after changing to Dave Caldwell as well, and I thought he boxed very clever the weekend. You know, against the southpaw. Spilka's a southpaw, and I thought it would be I thought Derek would always stop him, but I thought it would be late on. But it didn't. Like, he boxed, he stayed in the pocket, and he used his jab very well to the body, and he was clever, like, you know. He set up that shot, like, you know. It was the last shot, the referee sort of aided it as well.
I think David Hayes made a big difference as well. I think it's sort of, he's living with him by all accounts, making him, keeping him on the straight and narrow, so I think.
But how much control would you have?
Ironic
like, you talk about him walking out of the gym. How much control are you going to have over him?
I don't think anyone could have foreseen that partnership 10 years ago.
No. They were separated by a cage in Upton Park, wasn't it?
Remember the whole fracas after the Klitschko fight.
Yeah, that's
Adam
right.
got hit with a tripod.
Someone got beat, didn't they?
Yeah.
It's like,
the heavyweight division it's in a better place now, I think. So Pacquiao versus Thurman was the other big fight of the weekend, and I did think Thurman would win this fight, and he landed some.
I think I'm 2-0 now. It was predictions from last week.
Thurman, I think it was Al Bernstein put up a clip of some of the right hands that Thurman landed on Pacquiao, and Pacquiao just nothing them, like, kept walking forward. I just figured when a big man like that landed on Pacquiao, it might turn the tide, but
it was a huge size difference.
Just didn't.
Yeah. A lot of like, Pacquiao's greatness has been, you know, people are calling, like, online where he ranks in the great fighters, and there's no doubt he is a great fighter. But is there a caveat with, like,
Teddy Atlas put up, he looked more like a Ferrari than a Mustang, but I don't know what gas he's using in the tank.
Yeah.
So I think he's kind of hinting at what a lot of people think, but obviously he's never tested positive for anything.
wasn't tested though.
There was no VADA for this.
Yeah. That's wrong too. That has to be looked at for all world title fights.
Surely the commission, like the New York State, would take a test after the fight.
Oh, yeah.
But it would probably be just a P test. It wouldn't be blood.
And after the event as well, like if you're caught on the night of the fight, you deserve whatever you get. But I think VAD is the only way. It's just
even then, I don't think it's sufficient. I think there's.
No.
I think
Lance
as it's been shown, it's so far ahead. Doping is so far ahead of anything.
Money is ahead of what blood tests or urine tests are going to do, and they're random as well.
Well, like, wait, this is a boxing show, so we're going to talk about boxing. But if you look, if you look at other sports, at top end athletes performing in their 40s, and you're just looking at it like that's not realistic.
The only thing I could say about boxing is that I've been involved in it my whole life, my whole career, and been in a lot of gyms. Never been approached or suggested to me from anybody to take drugs, and never have I heard of anybody within any training camp I've been in taking it. You know, so I don't like. That's the only thing I would say. But you know, when you're just watching people fight and going on at like 40 years old and like. Oh God, I don't want to start throwing people around, you know, under the bus. You see some of the performances are out there and you just think, what's going on here?
With Pacquiao, though, 8th division champion, it's crazy, but like Pernell Whitaker passed away last week. If you look at his performances when he first started to where he ended up, it's a different fighter. Like, he adapted his game for the heavier weight classes, whereas Pacquiao is just fighting the exact same way.
Work was busy, so I only saw the first 9 rounds and I didn't see the last 3, but you're right in what you're saying. It was very clever. Like, he's in the pocket, he's always able to counter, his defence is good, he's quick hand. He's
got that great combination where he almost finishes it with a jab. He starts off with a jab right hand, but then finishes with a straight right hand. Yeah. And like Thurman just never worked that out. And even
it all comes from his feet. He's always got that little bounce. So he's in and out, and he's always in position to punch. Like,
he's fun though, he's a fun fighter.
Oh, he's impressive.
He's never in bad fights.
And Thurman, we questioned him last week, Andy, about whether he really wanted it anymore, and I think he proved that he did. Like, he hung in there. There was one body shot, I don't know if you saw that one, where he was crippled over almost. Like, I don't know how he didn't take a knee, because it seemed to take everything out of him, but
yeah, and he
hung in there.
Carried himself well after the fight, it seems, with the interviews, and he gave Pacquiao the plaudits, and so that was,
his name was mouthing about him though, wasn't he? Adrian Brawner.
Oh yeah.
Was saying that
he's trying to get a fight, Brawner,
yeah. It looks like Floyd Mayweather was ringside, and the bookies have already put the line on that fight for the Pacquiao Mayweather II. Mayweather is the favourite in that fight, so I'm not sure whether it's going to happen for a start or whether Mayweather is still equipped.
Would you want to see it? Do you guys want to see that fight?
I think Pacquiao sort of renewed the interest himself by, like, he's after beating one of the top guys in the division. It's not as if it's an old timers fight. And
the thing about it, as we are boxing fans and one fighter here,
fan and fighter,
it's in boxing's interest to have these big, huge events. Even if the fight doesn't live up to it, or we know it's past its best, there's obviously an interest that branches out into the broader audience, not just boxing fans.
Mayweather hits everywhere in the world.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And other fighters can get the fight on the card, and it builds boxing's profile. Like, now the first fight was a bit of a stinker, a little bit, just because Mayweather made it that way. But who knows? An older Mayweather maybe slightly slowed down, an active Pacquiao, a cleverer Pacquiao.
I'd probably still go Mayweather.
Yeah, I know, but so who knows? But I think it's in boxing's interest to have these big events. Even if you don't, even as a purist, you don't agree with it. You might not want to even see it, but I think there is room for it.
I think everyone's happy to have those fights while we're still getting the best, fighting the best.
Yeah,
and we are. Spence is fighting Porter, unification, and that's all you can really want, short of Crawford, who, again, we spoke about the Callum Smith being evicted from the super middleweight picture. PBC didn't even acknowledge that Terence Crawford existed the other night, so I don't know. It's I think Pacquiao would be better suited to take Floyd again rather than Errol Spence or Sean Porter.
It's obviously more money, a chance at revenge, and a better chance of winning.
And just last bits of business before we wrap up here. Lomachenko Campbell is confirmed, and I put up on Twitter, I think it's like, when is the last time a fighter that good fought in Britain? And you think probably the best ever, Andy?
Could be. It was
like I said, Marvin Hagler in 1980. It's going to
go on. Golovkin, Hagler.
Like Ali fought here in the 60s.
Muhammad Ali.
Here, this part of the world.
Yeah. Well, he fought in England and he fought in Ireland. Yeah. So it's hard, but like in terms of pure boxing, like is what he does actually pure boxing? It's just like he's just on a different level. He's just operating as
his own style.
Yeah, it's just like he's fighting boxing, and you can't hit him. So it's not like classically pure boxing. It's just it's a unique style that
you couldn't teach someone the boxing.
Yeah, but if someone's going to beat him, like you can't say that. But if someone's going to pose him some questions, it'll be a tall, hard-punching southpaw like Luke Campbell, whose pedigree is equal in terms of Olympic champion.
Olympic champion as well.
At the same Olympics.
Had a good fight with Linares. Linares had a good fight with Lomachenko, even though he eventually stopped him. Was dropped by him. Was that the only time Lomachenko's been dropped as a pro?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So there's some comparisons to be made there.
He's home advantage as well, which is a small factor, but it's still.
I don't think that as much as it just means used against Bellew.
It just means he won't have to, like when he fought Linares, for example, he had to fly to LA for the last bit of his camp, whereas he can stay in McGuigan's gym until fight night, basically.
Just down the road, isn't it?
Yeah. So
is it in the O2?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Hopefully BBC cover that one, Andy.
Hopefully I get out there.
Yeah. Is he your number one, Lomachenko, Niall? Who's your favourite fighter at the moment?
Yeah, Lomachenko. Usyk as well is something special to look at for a big man. He's a heavyweight now as well, so. But he's injured, I believe, or something. He pulled out of his debut.
Supposed to fight Takam, was he? He's scheduled soon, though.
Some tentative talk that he'll be on the undercard of the Lomachenko fight, which would be great to have the two of them.
Yeah, he's special now as well. They're very similar, actually. The box very similar.
Yeah.
Lewis is still.
And Groves is confident. He was Shane McGuigan was otherwise engaged yesterday, so Groves went to the press conference and he says he reckons Luke can do the job. So he's got more than a puncher's chance in the sense that he's not going in there as like a brawler. He's got some.
I think he'd make it interesting for 4 or 5 rounds. Can he maintain the focus, the concentration, everything he needs to do? To stay calm, to stay focused at the same time, to stay. Just to match, can he stay with him for that amount of rounds? So I think for 4 rounds, certainly, it could be interesting.
And before we go, last word for you, Niall. When do you travel? What's the plan for Boston?
Travel the 11th or 12th of August, and we fight the 17th. So I'll fly out the Monday and fight the Saturday, I think. And that's the plan. Hopefully, it'll be announced this week or next week whether it's for a title or not. And then it's just to make sure to perform and to make sure to get the win and get up the ranking points. And
I don't expect you to give us a prediction or anything, but what kind of fight are you expecting it to be?
I'm going off the best of them. I had a conversation with Andy beforehand, which is saying that like he was slick in his day. Do you know what I mean? He was very slick. He's 39 now, though.
He knows how to fight. Definitely knows the way around.
Yeah, and he throws a massive overhand right now. I don't think he's a massive puncher, but that's his go-to punch. So look, I have to look at myself and prepare for where getting myself in the best shape I am, and I have. The Wexford hurler Conor MacDonald is training me, doing a bit of strength and conditioning with me, and Ivan Lynch, and Pascal has me in good shape. I'm nearly on weight already. No, look, I'll be very, very, very fit. So if
10-round fight,
yeah. And
12 if it's title, or would I say 10?
No, it'll be 10 for an international title anyway. So, but I sparred the top amateur in the country and another pro in the country last week. Done 10 with the 2 lads, and the amateur in first, which Andy will know when you have a really good amateur in. At the start for the first 5 rounds, it's pressure like. So that spar went really well. And that was 5 weeks out, so I'll be hoping we'll do maybe 3 more 10-round spars, and I hope that I'm in a sort of a shape that whatever he does, his A game, his B game, whatever he wants to do, I'll be ready for it. So
good stuff. Well, thanks a million for coming in.
No bother, thanks a million.
Thanks, Andy, as well. Thanks to Tom in the box, and thanks to everyone for tuning in. We'll be back next week. Until then, it's goodbye from us.